Legends of history, real or myth. History is filled with larger-than-life legends, heroes and villains whose tales have inspired books, movies, and even entire cultures. From the shadowy depths of Sherwood Forest to the battlefields of ancient China, these stories have captivated our imaginations for centuries. But what if I told you some of these figures weren't just mythical, but could have been real people? In this video, we'll uncover the real-life stories and historical evidence behind 5 famous figures you may not have realized actually walked the earth. We'll delve into medieval records, ancient poems, and historical accounts, separating fact from fiction and exploring the fascinating ways in which history and storytelling intertwine. Grab your sword, your quiver of arrows, or your battle fan. This is going to be a fascinating journey into the heart of legend and history, real or myth. Let's find out. Our journey begins in the heart of England, amidst the ancient oaks and dappled sunlight of Sherwood Forest. It is here, shrouded in myth and legend, that we find the tale of Robin Hood, the heroic outlaw who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. His story, passed down through generations, has become an enduring symbol of rebellion against injustice. But was Robin Hood a real person or simply a figment of folklore? The truth, as with many historical mysteries, is far more nuanced. While there is no single historical figure who perfectly matches the Robin Hood of legend, historians believe the character is likely based on a composite of real people and events. The name Robin Hood itself appears in English court documents as early as the 13th century, often used to describe outlaws and fugitives living on the fringes of society. These individuals, much like the Robin Hood of legend, often defied the authority of the crown and lived by their own rules, taking refuge in forests and living off the land. One of the most compelling candidates for a real-life Robin Hood is Robert of Locksley, a nobleman who was outlawed during the reign of King Richard I. According to local legend, Robert was forced into hiding after a dispute with the Sheriff of Nottingham, a notorious figure known for his cruelty and corruption. Another theory points to a yeoman named Robin of Wakefield, known for his defiance of local authorities and his skill with a bow and arrow. Like the Robin Hood of legend, Robin of Wakefield was said to have robbed from the wealthy and redistributed his spoils amongst the poor and downtrodden. It is important to remember that the stories of Robin Hood were passed down orally for centuries before being written down. During this time, the tales were embellished and exaggerated, evolving from simple accounts of outlawry into epic sagas of heroism and rebellion. Whether based on a single individual or a composite of real-life figures, the legend of Robin Hood continues to capture our imaginations, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one person can make a difference. Our journey now takes us eastward to the rolling steppes and majestic mountains of ancient China. Here, amidst a backdrop of warring kingdoms and fierce battles, we encounter the legend of Mulan, the woman warrior who disguised herself as a man to take her father's place in the army. Her story, immortalized in the epic poem, has resonated for centuries, a testament to courage, filial piety, and the strength that lies dormant within us all. While historical evidence directly linking to Mulan herself remains elusive, her story is not merely a fanciful tale. It reflects a very real tradition of women warriors in ancient China, particularly during the tumultuous era of the Northern Wei dynasty. During this period, constant threats from nomadic tribes pushed the Wei dynasty to its limits, requiring every able-bodied citizen to contribute to the defense of their homeland. In such desperate times, the traditional roles of men and women were often blurred, with women taking up arms to protect their families and communities. Historical records from the Northern Wei dynasty mention women warriors who fought alongside men, skilled in horsemanship, archery and swordsmanship. These women, often from families with strong military traditions, challenged societal norms and proved their mettle on the battlefield. Mulan's story, passed down through generations, likely embodies the spirit of these real-life women warriors. She represents their courage, their unwavering loyalty, and their willingness to sacrifice everything for the greater good. Like the tales of Robin Hood, the story of Mulan has evolved over time, each retelling adding layers of nuance and embellishment. The original poem, while celebrating Mulan's bravery, portrays her as an ordinary woman thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Later adaptations, particularly in popular culture, have added more fantastical elements to Mulan's story. Despite these embellishments, the core of Mulan's story remains as powerful as ever. Up next, heading back to England, we have King Arthur. the once and future king. Our quest for historical truth now leads us to the misty Isles of Britain, a land shrouded in ancient legends and steeped in the lore of chivalry and magic. Here, amidst the rolling hills and windswept moors, we encounter the legend of King Arthur, the noble ruler of Camelot, wielder of the magical sword Excalibur, and a central figure in the Arthurian cycle. Arthur's story, filled with knights, wizards, and quests for the impossible, has captivated imaginations for centuries. But did a real King Arthur ever truly exist, or is he merely a product of medieval romances and wishful thinking? Historians, much like the Knights of the Round Table, have embarked on their own quests to uncover the truth behind the legend. While definitive proof of Arthur's existence remains elusive, there is a possibility that his story is rooted in the historical realities of 5th and 6th century Britain. During this tumultuous period following the Roman withdrawal from Britain, the island was plunged into chaos. Saxon invaders encroached from the east, threatening to overrun the native Britons. It is in this context of war, upheaval, and the struggle for survival that the legend of Arthur may have been born. Some historians believe that Arthur, if he existed, was not a king, but rather a skilled military leader, perhaps a Romanized Briton who rallied his people against the Saxon threat. One potential candidate is Ambrosius Aurelianus, a Romano-British warlord mentioned in historical texts as having fought bravely against the Saxons. Another theory suggests that Arthur's character is a composite of several real-life figures, their deeds and exploits combined and embellished over time to create the legendary king we know today. Early accounts of Arthur, such as those found in the writings of the Welsh monk Gildas, do not mention him by name, but describe a great warrior who united the Britons against their enemies. These accounts, while lacking in detail, suggest the existence of a historical figure who inspired the later legends. It was not until the 12th century, with the publication of Geoffrey of Monmouth's, that Arthur's story truly began to take on its familiar form. Geoffrey's account, while drawing on earlier traditions, introduced elements of magic, romance, and chivalry, transforming Arthur from a warrior chieftain into a legendary king. Now we have Vlad the Impaler, the man who inspired Dracula. Our journey now takes us to Wallachia, shadowed by the Carpathian Mountains. Here we encounter Vlad III, known as Vlad the Impaler, a 15th century ruler infamous for his brutality. His name evokes images of gruesome executions and battlefields littered with impaled bodies. Vlad was both revered as a defender and reviled as a tyrant. Born into conflict, Vlad inherited a realm between the Ottoman Empire and neighboring kingdoms. To survive, he embraced ruthlessness, using fear and intimidation. Impalement became his gruesome calling card. Enemies were impaled on stakes, their bodies left as a warning. Vlad's methods aimed to create an aura of invincibility. His tactics often worked, breaking the spirit of his enemies. Vlad's reign was marked by constant warfare. He employed guerrilla tactics to outmaneuver larger enemies. Despite his brutality, many in Wallachia saw him as a hero. Known for his strict sense of justice, he maintained order in his realm. This complex legacy caught the attention of Bram Stoker. Stoker transformed Vlad into the fictional vampire Count Dracula. While Vlad had no supernatural ties, his bloodthirsty reputation inspired Stoker's imagination. Pietro Bandinelli, the real-life rogue. Our final destination takes us to the heart of the Italian Renaissance, a period of artistic flourishing, intellectual ferment, and, as we shall soon discover, no shortage of intrigue and deception. Amidst the bustling city-states and opulent courts of 16th century Italy, we encounter the story of Pietro Bandinelli, a name that may not be as instantly recognizable as Robin Hood or King Arthur, yet his life story is no less captivating. Bandinelli was not a king, a warrior, or a mythical hero. He was a double agent, a master of disguise and deception who navigated the treacherous world of Renaissance espionage with a cunning and audacity that would make even the most skilled fictional spy envious. In a world where power was often fleeting and alliances shifted like the desert sands, information was the most valuable currency. And Pietro Bandinelli, with his network of informants, his talent for blending into any crowd, and his ability to gain the trust of even the most suspicious individuals, was a master of acquiring and exploiting secrets. He worked for various patrons throughout his career, often playing both sides of a conflict, feeding misinformation to his enemies while providing valuable intelligence to his allies. His true loyalties, however, remained shrouded in mystery, a testament to his skill as a master manipulator. Bandinelli's exploits read like something out of a spy thriller. He infiltrated rival courts, intercepted confidential messages, and orchestrated elaborate schemes to discredit his enemies and advance the interests of his patrons. His life was a constant game of cat and mouse, a dangerous dance on a razor's edge where one wrong step could mean ruin. What makes Bandinelli's story so fascinating is that it reveals a hidden side of the Renaissance, a world beneath the surface of artistic brilliance and humanist ideals, where power struggles, betrayals, and clandestine operations were the order of the day. His story reminds us that history is not just about kings and queens, battles and treaties. It is also about the lives of ordinary individuals who, through their cunning, ambition, or sheer force of will, leave their mark on the world. So there you have it. 5 legendary figures whose stories straddle the line between myth and reality. From the depths of Sherwood Forest to the battlefields of ancient China, from the courts of medieval Britain to the shadowy world of Renaissance espionage, we have journeyed through time, uncovering the human stories behind the legends. While we may never know the full truth behind these figures, their tales continue to captivate and inspire us, reminding us that history is not just a collection of dates and names, but a tapestry woven from the threads of human experience, of courage and cowardice, of ambition and sacrifice, of love, loss, and the enduring power of storytelling. Which of these figures surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating dives into the mysteries of history. Subscribe for more historical mysteries.